28 Years Later, The Bone Temple is written by Alex Garland and directed by Nia DaCosta, and it stars Alfie Williams, Jack O'Connell, Ray Fiennes, Erin Kellyman, and Chi Lewis Parry. The film starts off right where the first 28 Years Later ended, wherein our main hero Spike, played by Alfie Williams, is intercepted by a gang of Power Rangers-like youths dressed in shaggy blonde wigs and tracksuits who intercept Spike as he's being attacked by a horde of the infected. Where the Bone Temple kicks off is an extremely gory, sadistic scene involving the gang of youths led by the charismatic Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell, revealing that they are not who Spike wants to be involved with, or let alone have any part of whatsoever. We then cut to Dr. Ian Kelson, played by Ray Fiennes, using knockout darts to paralyze the hulkingly huge infected person Samson, played by Chi Lewis Parry, who is an alpha zombie, so to speak. Spending a little more time with Kelson and Samson, we learn through Dr. Kelson's innovative experimentation on the infected that it may be possible to reverse the illness that causes people to turn into rage-fueled killing machines. Meanwhile, Jimmy Crystal and his goons are hell-bent on creating a path of destruction leading to their messiah Satan, and they're taking Spike along with them. This is a film that started filming 3 weeks after the filming of the first 28 Years Later from 2025, with a different director, Nia DaCosta, replacing Danny Boyle, and a different cinematographer, Sean Bobbitt, replacing Anthony Dodd Mantle. So it's the definition of being fast-tracked into production, which can often mean a high chance of failure. And The Bone Temple was considered a failure at the box office, potentially not generating enough steam to get a sequel despite the cliffhanger ending with the return of an old character. But as far as giving us a quality horror film, this was not a failure in the least, and 28 Years Later The Bone Temple is my favourite entry, second favourite entry in the whole franchise after 28 Days Later from 2002. There's several reasons for this, but I want to start with the character Sir Lord Jimmy Crystal. I don't believe there's any legitimacy with the knighting of that name whatsoever, and I'm sure Jimmy Crystal was not the name on his original birth certificate. But it was only after further research that I discovered that these characters are modelled after the deceased and disgraced former British TV personality Jimmy Savile, who was very prominent in British TV in the 1970s and 1980s. In the timeline of the 28 Days Later franchise, with the first one being released in 2002, there were already rumblings and rumours then of Jimmy Savile being a pedophile and a predator, so at the very least, Jimmy Crystal himself must have known and heard about such rumours on the brink of the zombie apocalypse, which gives him a much greater sense of evil as he leads this group of 6 or 7 teenagers, aka children, to commit such violent acts of savagery in a Charles Manson-like fashion. He even has a creepy obsession with children's television shows, in a frightening scene where he explains Teletubbies to a family whose home he has intruded upon. And in the previous film, there is a prologue of Jimmy Crystal as a child, and he's watching Teletubbies, him and a group of young siblings, as the zombie apocalypse kicks off back in 2002, wherein he escapes and his whole family in town is likely killed and overrun by zombies. I think the character of Jimmy Crystal as a villain is pretty brilliant, and Jack O'Connell's performance is amazing. He's both creepy, sadistic, funny, oafish, but with just enough cool charisma to make it believable that he could brainwash a group of young people into being murderous, torturing Satan worshippers in the midst of a zombie apocalypse. Hey, if Charles Manson could do it without a zombie apocalypse taking over, then surely Jimmy Crystal can too. I think his appearance and persona are quite iconic and memorable for recent horror movie villains, and he should be up there with Aunt Gladys from Weapons, so that was an Oscar-winning role from Amy Madigan, or Art the Clown from the Terrifier movies. Say what you will about the movies, I'm not a fan, but the performance by David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown is pretty brilliant. And also Pennywise, played by Bill Skarsgård from the new It movies and the series Welcome to Derry. And now we even have, in a more recent horror movie, the performance of Indy Navarrete in Obsession. I reckon Jack O'Connell in The Bone Temple is up there with all of them. And this is just but a small group of recent great horror movie villain performances by great actors, and Jack O'Connell's one of them, arguably two of them, with his turn as Remick from last year's Sinners. His appearance in The Bone Temple is interesting as he dons a purple velvety tracksuit, which is spotlessly clean. There's not a mark on it. It looks like it's brand new and freshly laundered, which gives him an almost angelic vibe, like he's untouchable and cannot be harmed. But you also wonder, how in 28 years has he personally not come into any trouble involving the infected? You don't see him engage in barely any actual fighting in this movie, wherein he sits atop these throne-like seats just overlooking his goons commit all the hideous acts of violence and savagery in the opening scene and in a really grisly scene that takes place in a barn. Does he only get them to do all the dirty work, leaving him with nothing to actually do? Or does he change to new outfits whenever he runs into trouble fighting either zombies or people? How is there enough resources in an apocalypse for him to just find new attire that looks like a Jimmy Savile outfit so regularly in stores that would have been ransacked from the beginning? And I doubt he does regular laundry at home with access to water and electricity. This is an apocalypse. And remember also, the zombies in this franchise projectile vomit large amounts of blood on people when they attack. So it almost makes no sense at all that his clothes look brand new, unless there is an angelic, supernatural sense to his character. And yet, as the movie goes on, he is revealed to be just a great big oaf who has no idea what he's doing. There is a plot point where he believes Dr. Kelson is Satan because of his appearance. He's covered head to toe in iodine because Dr. Kelson's learnt that iodine reverses the illness. And then you also wonder how in a zombie apocalypse is he able to acquire so much iodine when no doubt hospitals and pharmacies would have been ransacked too. Upon finding out that Kelson is not old Nick, Jimmy Crystal threatens to, and I quote, cut out his intestines and force feed them to him until he can't breathe, which is something like a school bully might say on a playground, or like a kid might say in an online forum or a video game that he blurts out to the other kids online. Earlier in the film, Jimmy Crystal also requests that Spike, the main character, should have cut off a dead woman's face and brought it to him as proof that he killed her, which he didn't, or, and I quote, remove her unborn fetus and deliver it to him. And again, these are just things like an idiot would say. I think it's these idiosyncrasies that make the Bone Temple feel really original, and it's awesome that Nia DaCosta, an African-American millennial woman in 2026, has taken a horror franchise created by a white British boomer in 2002 and not only done it successfully, but brought new life into it, taken it into a new direction and giving it a different tone and vision. Personally, I just hope against hope that we do get a sequel, because the movie really lends itself to one in a really fun way. But they're my thoughts on 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Let me know what you thought of it, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch ya.